Well, good morning. Again, this is my talks on current developments, geopolitical and religion, mythology, history. And today is Tuesday, the 10th of December. And I'd like to talk a little bit about Syria. The situation in Syria is a very interesting situation. Syria is a very complex state. It was created by the Sykes-Picot Agreement in the wake of World War One. Sykes-Picot refers to an agreement between the British and the French, basically dividing the Middle Eastern states, creating Middle Eastern states that eventually emerged as a result of his imperial diktat or imperial agreement. Syria was created by that agreement, but it, like many imperialist documents, it put together many different ethnic groups, religious groups, kinship groups that did not belong together, and found it very difficult to live with. And these are the current situation in Syria is a direct ramification of that, and it has been exacerbated by the uh, current rise of Islamist policies, Islamist groups, the rise of ISIS, the rise of Hezbollah, and the contradiction of Shiite and Sunni radicalism. That is Hezbollah, the Alawite government of Bashar Assad, and that of his father Hafez al-Assad, who took over in 1970. So the Assad family has ruled Syria for over 50 years, and it just came down, but it was fully supported by the Alawite and the Shiite communities inside Syria and outside of Syria, in Lebanon, particularly Hezbollah, and of course Iran, which is a predominantly Shiite state. The leading rebel groups were funded by Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia being a principal supporter of the Sunni rebel groups, particularly HTS, the Hayat Tahrir al-Shams, and al-Jolani, who was associated with Al Qaeda and ISIS. That is a main group. It was supported, and it is supported by Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was financially supporting that group in its ongoing struggle to dismantle Iranian power in the Middle East. And that then there is uh, the group supported by the Turks in the northeastern part of Syria. HTS is mainly northwestern Syria, while the group that is supported by Turkey is basically functions in the northeast along the border with Turkey. And it is that group is focused on containing the Kurds, which the United States supports. So the situation has geopolitical consequences since various powers support different groups in the area. Assad was, of course, supported by the two groups I mentioned, Hezbollah and Iran, because the Alawites are considered by many Sunni to be an offshoot of Shia heresy. The Shia-Sunni divide is probably the most important political factor in the Middle East today, much more important than any struggle against Israel. In fact, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia Mohammed bin Salman has moved closer to Israel in an effort to get Israel to militarily quash Iranian projections of power, which have been primarily targeted against Saudi Arabia, um, while Erdogan, President Erdogan of Turkey, has supported a neo-Ottoman foreign policy that is posing Turkey as a leader of the Sunni world, which somewhat clashes with the Saudi efforts. But so that there is that intermingling of interest and conflicting interests in the Middle East. There's also an economic factor that with and of course Russia was supporting Syria. There is a factor of oil, and that is Saudi Arabia would like to get pipelines through Syria, and that has been prevented by Russian interference and the Russian role in Syria, since it has monopolized the oil deliveries in the area and the transmission of oil in the area. Now there's going to be a kind of settling of accounts. But the reason that Assad fell was that Israel was able to basically decapitate Hezbollah and paralyze Iran through its military actions. So Iran couldn't take any military actions in Syria, since Israel had demonstrated that it could, with impunity, destroy any Iranian military assets without losing any of its own. And again, in doing this, it has gotten the support of Saudi Arabia and also the Gulf states, which are adjuncts to Saudi Arabian foreign policy. The situation in Syria came about as an effect of Israeli military action against Hezbollah and effective military action against Iran, and also the fact that Russia, which had propped up the Assad regime since 2015, wasn't able to respond because it has lost over 750,000 men, both wounded and killed, captured in Ukraine, fighting its 3-year war, almost 3 years of war, and it was really hard pressed to hold on it really is hard pressed in holding on in Ukraine, so that it could not focus any resources in any scale in Syria. So it was the right moment for all these factors came together, and they caused the downfall of Assad. Now, this obviously signals a weakness in Iran, which it is now weakened and possibly wobbling. And also it signals a weakening in Russian foreign policy, since it will lose its warm water ports in Syria and its monopolization of oil production and delivery through Syria. So Turkey will now open up a pipeline. They will move quickly to try to open up a pipeline to compete with Russian oil deliveries. And that is why a lot of Russian media and pro-Russian advisors, pro-Russian philosophers like the genocidal Alexander Dugin have been sounding war horns against Erdogan and Turkey. So the situation is highly volatile. It does indicate a strengthening of Israel, but the chaotic situation in Syria, as you can see, where you have all these competing militant groups, rebel groups, Shiite communities, Alawite communities, and even a very small 2% Christian community, will now try to live, if they can, in a country controlled by militant Islamic rebel groups, particularly HTS, the rebel group supported by Turkey, and also the Kurds are likely to be targeted since both Turkey and the HTS look at the Kurdish areas in eastern Syria as potential threats and potential targets. Uh, it is a great thing that Assad is now gone. He was a brutal murderer, but the situation in Syria is rife with potential catastrophes. Um, it remains to be seen whether they can create an effective state and whether the minorities will not be targeted. I don't know what will happen, but these are things to watch. Well, thank you very much for listening to me. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please subscribe. It helps my channel, and like and share. Thank you.